friends. Welcome back to another episode of the More Than a Number podcast, where we reject diet culture and simplify the science of sustainable weight loss. Full disclosure, I've been running around all day. That's why I'm in the hat. And frankly, I am in my releasing perfection era. So this is what we're rolling with today. Okay, I want to ask you a question. What if I told you the first step to lasting weight loss is not what you think it is? If I asked you what the first step is, what would you say? Is it, I need to eat more protein? Is it, I need to stop eating sugar? I need to meal prep more? I need to start working out more? If it is, those are all great things, but I don't actually think any of them would be the first step. I think the first step is honest and radical awareness. And I don't just mean awareness of like what you're eating. I mean awareness of where you are currently, your starting point. Because whether we're talking about our health, our relationships, our business, finances, our faith, the first step toward growth is always being honest about where you're starting. Honesty is not failure, it's the starting point. You can't create a path if you don't acknowledge where you're starting from. And I think that's where so many of us get stuck because we become aware by tracking things, and tracking tends to come with some baggage for people. So it can be an uncomfortable thing to do, but I'm going to get into why tracking doesn't always have to be about calories. So stick with me. One conversation I have over and over again with people is they tell me, my goal is to weigh what I weighed when I was 18, or I just want to get back to my college weight. And I have to gently ask, why though? Not because it's like completely out of the realm of possibility, but because is it actually the life you're trying to build? If you're 25, maybe. But if you're 45, like me, or older, your healthiest body may not look anything like it did when you were 18. When we're 18, we're usually living a completely different life. Maybe we're still playing sports. Well, maybe you're still playing sports. I never did that. Maybe we're walking all over a college campus. Maybe we don't have kids. Maybe you aren't juggling careers, marriages, aging parents, mortgages. Our lives are different. So why do we expect our bodies to never change? Okay, so before we get into even talking about losing weight, we have to become aware of a few things. Where am I today, right now? And where am I realistically trying to go? Because if our destination is not realistic, we're going to spend the whole journey feeling like we're failing. That's when the yo-yo happens, because we say the heck with this and give up and go off the rails until the next time we attempt another weight loss strategy, right? One thing I have observed over the more than 10 years of working in weight management, and honestly, something I am totally guilty of doing as well, is most of us think we're actually eating much less than we are, like taking in much less calories than we are. And most of us think we're drinking way more water than we actually are. That's not because we're lazy or we're lying. It's because we're human. In fact, a research study comparing food recalls to a gold standard method has found that people underreport how much they eat all the time. And in people living with overweight and obesity, studies consistently find underreporting in the range of 20 to 50%. 20 to 50%. The research also found that, generally speaking, the higher a person's BMI, the greater the degree of underreporting. So think about that for a second. 20 to 50%. That is not a small difference. That's huge. And before you start feeling guilty, that's not why I'm telling you this. Tracking is not punishment. Tracking is information. And information gives us the opportunity to make better decisions today than we did yesterday. I don't know all the reasons people underreport. Maybe it's embarrassment. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe we just don't realize how much we're eating. I don't know. It's probably a combination of all of those things. But here's what I do know. Tracking is just collecting data. Scientists collect data before they draw conclusions all the time. That's literally their job. That's what they're doing. We should do the same with ourselves. No matter what you're tracking, whether it's calories, pounds, I don't know, grams, sets, minutes, ounces, it's all just data. It's there just to help us, not to judge us. We have to take the emotion out of it and just accept where we are today so we can get accurate directions for where we want to go. It also gives us the opportunity to learn about ourselves and our bodies, how our bodies respond to what we eat, how much we eat, and even how we eat. There should be no guilt associated with awareness. I say all of this because, you're not broken. You're not a bad person. Your brain is just not that great at recording. And that's exactly why awareness matters so much. And it's interesting because I had a conversation with one of my patients recently who had the gastric sleeve surgery, had bariatric surgery about a year ago. And we were going over, kind of what he's been eating and drinking, how he's been eating, all that stuff. And I was kind of shocked at how well he still keeps track of everything. So I told him how impressed I was that he still tracks his intake so consistently. And he really hit the nail on the head when he said, I've noticed that when I don't track, it's amazing how easy it is to go from 2,000 calories to 4,000 calories without even realizing it. I don't think that's an accident. I think that's the whole point. And honestly, I giggled because he's absolutely right. It really is that easy. Not because he suddenly started laying around and eating pizza and bonbons all day, but because life happens. It's like, a handful of nuts here while you're cooking, just munching on something, tasting whatever your cooking is. Half of your kids' chicken nuggets that they didn't eat. The leftovers you don't want to waste. A coffee on the way to work. Have you ever looked at the nutrition facts on some of those coffee drinks? Y'all know which ones I'm talking about. It's wild. The point is, none of those things feel like a big deal, on their own, but they all add up. That's why awareness matters so much. And here's what really caught my attention is that he didn't say, when I don't track, I fail, or when I don't track, I, reprimand myself because I screwed up. He said, I noticed. That word matters so much because tracking is what gave him awareness. It gave him information. It helped him notice patterns before they became problems. I had another client the other day tell me what she noticed from doing a food recall was that she wasn't eating enough calories at breakfast. And that helped her realize that's why she keeps getting super hungry and wanting to snack a lot in between breakfast and lunch. She said she didn't want to eat more at breakfast because she didn't want to take in too much. But we took her analysis even further, and I was able to show her that the 2 to 3 snacks she was inevitably eating in between breakfast and lunch added up to roughly 650 calories. Whereas if we just added 150 to 200 like more satiating calories to her breakfast, then she wouldn't get hungry in between and she'd actually, be coming out ahead at the end of the day. We also moved up her lunch about 30 minutes so she isn't going, too long in between meals and getting hangry. So be curious, notice everything. Even my therapist does this with me all the time. I'll be talking through something that's bothering me, and she'll stop me and ask, "What do you notice about that?" Or she'll say, "Notice that feeling." Not because she's judging me, because she's helping me become aware. It's curiosity. Curiosity changes us in ways criticism never will, because that self criticism is usually what makes us quit, right? We say the heck with it. But curiosity makes us actually lean in. So the awareness piece is so, so important to learn. And learning is what creates that growth that we need if we let it. Now, I want to clarify some things around tracking. Like I said at the beginning, not to panic that we're not only talking about tracking calories, right? I don't want you to immediately freak out about that. Yes, that is one way to track, is to track calories, and it's a great way, but it is most certainly not the only way. Maybe you track, grams of protein or ounces of water or your energy levels, servings of fruits and vegetables, the hours that you sleep or the quality of your sleep, the number of steps you take in a day, the number of resistance exercise workouts. I don't know why that came out weird. Strength training workouts that you do for the week, your minutes of movement, your stress levels, your hunger levels throughout the day. That's a great one to track, is to see where you feel the most hungry throughout the day, and we can kind of rearrange how you're eating. Any emotional eating moments that you had throughout the day, even your mood. Tracking is not about creating perfection. It's just about collecting the information that we need to be aware, because the awareness is the goal, not the tracking. The tracking just helps us get to that goal. And I know this can be a super sensitive topic, especially if you're like me, who has struggled with weight forever since the womb. Tracking food can feel very vulnerable. It can feel embarrassing, especially if you're going to be showing it to someone, like someone's grading your choices. But that's not what this is. Tracking is just about collecting the data. Think about it this way. Imagine you're standing at point B and your goal is to get to point Z. So you pull up Google Maps, and instead of putting in point B as your starting point, you put in point M. Do you think that your journey or your arrival time is actually going to be accurate? Of course not. Or here's another example, and this one I think definitely a lot of the ladies are going to be able to relate to. Have you ever been standing in your bathroom texting somebody, "I'm on my way," while you're literally still putting on mascara and trying to decide what shoes you're going to wear? Come on, we've all been there. I used to be the queen of doing that until I realized I wasn't fooling anybody. Now, if I'm running late, I'm just going to tell you, sorry, running late, because accurate information helps people know what to expect. And the same thing is true with our health. If we're not honest about where we're starting, we can't possibly create an accurate plan for where we want to go. Again, I cannot say this enough. Tracking is not judging us. Take the emotion out of it. It's just guiding us. It helps us learn how our bodies respond to food, how it responds to sleep, to stress, hydration, movement. It's information. And that information is what helps us make better, more informed decisions. So here's what I'd love for you to do this week, if you're up for it. Don't try to track everything. Please don't. I know. There are my overachievers out there who always want to do all the things immediately. I beg of you, please don't do that. Just pick one thing. One. And don't pick the thing that you think you should track. Pick the thing you're most curious about. Maybe you've always wondered if you really are getting enough protein. Maybe you do really think that you get plenty of water, but it's kind of something that you're not totally convinced about. Maybe you insist that you sleep 7 hours every night, but you're always feeling tired every day. So you should probably track how much you're getting and the quality of that sleep. Don't assume. Find out for sure. Maybe it's your daily steps or your energy levels throughout the day. Maybe it's just asking yourself, how stressed did I feel today? Our assignment this week is not to be perfect. It isn't to lose 5 pounds. It isn't to overhaul our life. The mission, if you choose to accept it, is to simply notice, because awareness comes before change. And change becomes lasting when we stop pretending we're somewhere we're not. We can't change what we're pretending not to see, right? Okay. So before you try to become someone totally different this week, just become more aware of who you are today, because we can't grow from a place that we're unwilling to acknowledge. We don't have to be ashamed of where we're starting. We just have to be honest enough to begin. Thanks so much for spending some time with me today. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, we don't start over. We just come back to our anchors. I love you. God loves you. I'll see you right back here next week.